Hello, I'm Mass, this is BonkTable, and this is another Conquest Battle Report. Today I am playing more Dweghom, more Rollo Castle, and my opponent is playing Wadrhun. Mostly played Dweghom because that was in my bag, and it was kind of my first day back off work, and I'm like, well, I'm not swapping anything out. I want to play more Dweg. I'm really liking Rollo Castle. I think it's a great list. I went so far and bought the pieces that I was missing, so after this battle report, hopefully the next one, I've assembled everything and I'll actually have all the minis. Instead of just like, go 2 guys per stand. It's a local game, I don't have to worry about a tournament. So with that, my opponent is playing Wadrhun. It's just kind of a collection of his stuff and what he has. And I guess we'll get into the game and see how that goes. Alright, so here's the list. Not the game, we'll get to that. So, Rollo Castle, you know it, you love it. You got Tempered Sorcerer Warlord for that healing and the reduction with the elemental tokens. He's in a 5-stack of Ballistae with Herald, so that regiment has Aura of Death 2. It's going to be 5 wide because you want all your guys shooting with the Tempered Steel Shaper shooting. There's 6 of them, so 6 wide. Doing math, good. He's got a Fire Forge and then 2 Steel Forge. Steel Forge kind of come on, I want to say around turn 3 and 4 is when optimally they want to be on. You don't want them too early, because what you want to kind of do with them is reinforce flanks of your list and areas where your opponent is trying to like push through and get to your shooting. You can use Fireforge really well as your castle wall, but you kind of want your cake and eat it too, where they're shooting and then also being there to provide support, while Steelforge just kind of want to get there and do all that damage. You know, Defense 4, Resolve 4 with their 5 wounds is a very good stat line just to take a hit in the face, on top of being within 8 inches of a wizard, where we got 3 of them, so that they can receive the tokens, reduce that damage, heal up. It becomes really hard to get through unless there's like a concise force going towards the Steel Forge. So I tend to like the Steel Forge coming on turn 3 and 4, because by that point, things have kind of started to reveal their hand on what's coming out on the table, where stuff is going, and where the weak points are, and areas that I might be able to just even push with the Steel Forge if my opponent has a weak flank and I'm like, well, I gotta put more shooting here, this one Steel Forge is defending, there's a wider flank over on the other side that I can just drop another Steel Forge and just kind of like push through because my opponent has committed very much. So Steel Forge, really versatile unit, I like them a lot. Next, we have the same warband twice, what is a Fire Wizard on top of a Hellbringer Drake and another Fire Forge, so just duplicate that times 2. So in total, we got 3 Fire Forge. I really like 3 Fire Forge. 2 is pretty good, because what tends to happen is one of your Fire Forge regiments tends to just get engaged, and you just kind of have to accept that when you're playing with Fire Forge in this list. So having 3, you have one that's just going to get engaged, be a wall, and your opponent kind of has to engage with it, because if they don't, they're just going to keep getting shot with the AP2 from their guns. And having 3 Fireforge shoot you is way worse than having 2 Fireforge shoot you. So I really like that you can just, you know, shift to wall. And having 2 units of Fireforge shooting all the time, it's just printing money, it's gravy. That's kind of what you want. And then if your opponent engages your 1 regiment of Fireforge, you can use other Fireforge to clear it off, and then, you know, keep pushing and shooting forward. Hellbringer Drakes are, you know, your big towers, you're unloading shots with them, they see over everybody. They give a raised platform for the Tempered Sorcerer, who's going to be shooting fireballs out at everybody. Like, I just cast Fireball. His other spell, it's probably around here. What is this? Coruscation. Because they're the same range, I'm just gonna do Fireball, even though, like, 2 mid 4, like, if there's no defense, even then, like, I'd still drop Fireball to just confirm kills. Yeah, like, maybe Coruscation if it's, like, low defense 2 or less, but then, like, if it's defense 2, why don't you just drop a Fireball and make them defense 0 and just let them, you know, like, take the damage, take the resolve, here you go. So, it's kind of tough, like, Coruscation probably into defense 1 so you get more hits and just watch people explode and die. But I just tend to drop fireballs on people, to be honest. I haven't cast Flame Ball yet, even if stuff is within range 8. The other issue is that it's a scaling spell, so if it's a big regiment, you can kind of get screwed over a bit by that. And even then, like, Fireball. More Fireball. Just be a D&D wizard. Fireball. Fireballs for everybody. Love me some fireballs. Yeah, that's the list. I don't know. So were the rules. There's much to talk about with Dweg. There's like talking to Brian about Dweg. I did another video. I'm probably not going to put in the description, but it's the Elden Ring Dweghom video. If you want to know more about Dweg from a high-end player who does a bunch of tournaments and has placed very well, winner of LVO and such, so you know he's good. And talking with Dweghom, like Dweghom's, a lot of its power comes from its stat line, and a lot of its you do small micro things because you don't have such big movement shenanigans compared to other factions that you really want to just be like, when you deploy, make sure you're going to be getting on that zone as the game progresses. Make sure you're in the right spot early on, because if you mess up your deployment early on, it's going to hurt you a lot. You have very little recovery. But if you just deploy well and follow the game, like the Dweghom game plan of being a castle and having your Fire Forge as walls, having your Steel Forge support and be walls as well, and allowing your Hellbringer Drinks and Tempered Sorcerers to shoot, and maybe a Fire Forge here or there to shoot, you're going to be in a really good spot. Don't like do anything crazy where you try and sweep in and take over the entire board. You kind of want to say, these 2/3 of the board are mine. Let's go. So with that, let's go see my opponent's Wadrhun List. Here's my opponent's Wadrhun List. He called it Bonk Boys, so thank you very much, sir. He's got a Predator Warlord with the Thrill to Kill Supremacy. I was talking to him about this, why he took the Predator, and he didn't understand how Supremacy works. He thought that you just get each of them for each of your characters, and I'm like, no, I had to explain that you don't. The one you pick because your Warlord is the Supremacy you get. And we were talking about it, and I said, hey, do you want to swap it to Shock from the Chieftain? He's like, no, so it's like, okay, whatever. But he knows for next time that if you wanted Shock from the Chieftain as the Warlord ability, he would make the Chieftain, or the Supremacy ability, he would make the Chieftain the Warlord. Thrill to Kill didn't come up at all, so I'm kind of going to skip over it. It's not that great of a Supremacy, to be honest, anyway. Like, your lights, when you use it in the Supremacy phase, your lights get additional speed. I believe your mediums get additional speed, and then your heavies get more impact attack. So it's a very weird Supremacy. All friendly regiment and ruler charge. Addition, lights gain +3 to their charge. Mediums get +1, and heavies get +1 impact. Like, I don't know. I would totally be fine if it was just, you get to reroll your charge, and all friendly regiments just get +3 to their charge. Just go. Screw it. Fuck it. Let's just go hard. Just come on, Wadrhun. Just go. And like, if heavies got +3 speed, like an Apex going 11 inches on a charge, woo! Or Warbred or all that, like, probably going to be some problems, but it would be funny. People would be taking Thrill to Kill for sure if you just had a Supremacy where everyone just gained +3 inches to charging. Yeah, or you know what? Fuck it. Make it 2. Balance it out between the 1 and the 3. Everyone gets 2. No impacts. They get reroll charges and +3 to their charge distance. Done. Everyone gets famine for a turn. That'd be fun. And get to work. So anyway, that's me just like saying kind of Thrill to Kill not working. Like, lights charging, yeah, okay, but like Wadrhun lights for charges, like people are kind of grabbing slingers. They're not really grabbing, like, this gentleman has Raptor Riders, but they're way too expensive for what they're doing. They're not good. I wouldn't say they're terrible, but they're kind of like a 4 out of 10. Oh, how the times have changed for poor Raptor Riders. Alright, let's do this. Predator. Shooting all his guns. He's got Fiend Hunter. He's got Forward Force. He's War. Scars of Enderak. +1 evasion on the regiment he's in. He's going to be unit of Slingers. So they're going to be getting evasion 1. Sweet. He's got Voice. He's got Cecil's Hunt. So Fire in Advance and Marksman for more shots. So he's got Barrage 5. Sweet. Cool. Voice of Conquest makes him Chant Conquest in his regiment. Sweet. Hunting Pack. Hunting Pack actually really good. I like Hunting Pack. They're really solid for just getting in the way and being harassment, and you got to be really wary of them just because of how far they can move. They don't score, but because of how fast they are, and they're kind of a little bit resilient to shooting. However, because of wounds 3, they're not very good. Like, basically, like a Stiff Breeze just looks at them and they just die. Like, Defense 1 and Evasion 1 is just garbage for a stat line. However, they're just going to shoot up the table and be in the way. Like, you kind of want to treat them like Strix, except they don't explode upon death. You just kind of want to use them to tie down stuff, and it's good in that way. They're very much just like a fast chaff regiment to get in the way to tie things down and hold stuff. Do they have opportunities? They do. So if you can run them down a flank, and get them into the side of something, they'll do a lot of work. Even then, they'll still do a lot of work with their 6 attacks. Like, you gotta still be wary about them offensively because they will pump up the damage. But if you have a gun, even with the loose formation, you'll start picking off stance and killing them off. Raptor Riders, they're not... Their gun isn't long enough. They don't have enough barrage. Defense 2, Evasion 2 is pretty good. Resolve 3 on their 5 wounds. Like, that's not a bad stat line, especially for a light. 5 of Clash 2 and Flurry, so they'll do good in melee. They're just too expensive. Like, they're paying... I don't know. They don't really... Like, they have a gun, and you kind of don't want to use it. And if you're going to grab Raptor Riders for, like, the speed to run up and engage stuff and do damage, you might as well just grab another Regiment of Hunting Pack. Because you're kind of paying for this gun, and it's not doing a whole much, like, ton for you. Double Slinger, fantastic unit from Wadrhun. Volley 3 is really good, Barrage 4, Range 18 Torrential Fire, and their special rule to reroll Resolve. They got Flint Matcher for the reroll 6s. One of the Predators sitting in here, so they're going to be Conquesting. But they can only go to tier 2 because they don't have Fanatic, because, I don't know if Mantle went somewhere else. I think it went to the Chieftain, but... So, Slinger's still really good. They're going to be raining shots. You can kind of just kill them because they're only defense 1, but the thing is, like, you want to get over there and just start putting caps into them. Wound 5 tends to keep them alive from the chip damage, so... But, you know, if there's a concentrated force coming after them, Slingers will just die. However, you want to make use of your range 18 and hide behind people and just kind of shoot out. They'll do a lot of work. Chieftain, Decked Out, Famine, Death Gaze, Stoic, Rapid Displacement, and Wasteland Ladder. So you're flanking on. You are getting Glorious Charge if you have a big block. And Stoic, I believe, is the Resolve Auto Pass, or it gives you Indomitable. What is it? I think it's the Resolve Auto Pass. Where is it? Indomitable. Eyes. Irregulars, Linebreaker, Leader. It's gonna be like that, isn't it? Indomitable. Yeah, so you just pass 1 Resolve. Sweet. Not bad. That Stoic is also on the next block, but he's in an MSU of Veterans who are Standard Bearer and Chieftain. Sweet. You know, Veterans, actually, I like them a lot. They're really good. They're really good with war. They get to, like, you just Chieftain into Veterans, and you can, and if you have Fanatic, you can just get to tier 3 war or something. They're in Famine, so they're going to be shooting across the table. Still, it's a pretty hardy block with Defense 3, Resolve 3, and their 6 wounds. Like, their 6 wounds is what really keeps them going. Their attacks are also pretty good, and they're going to be getting Flurry from the Chieftain. So, not bad right there. Then we got 4 Thunder Riders who can be running along. They're in Famine, so he really wants to charge with these guys and shoot from downtown to get their brutal impacts in there. And then he's going to be chanting Famine for that shock, so you can go from Clash 3 to Clash 4. Good stuff. 6 wounds keeps them alive. They gotta, like, their defensive stats of Resolve 3, Defense 3 is really good with their wounds of 6. Like, if this was 4 wounds, I'd be like, not the greatest, because people know how dangerous they are. But because of wound 6, you can take some chip damage and not be worried that you're going to lose a guy or two, and still have stuff around to actually get that work in. So, it's kind of fine right there. Then we got a Scion, Death, Essence of, I can't even say this, basically makes his range of his spells plus 6 inches. Not that great, but Once again, Stoic, and then 1 voice is every chant marker in the sequence adds another dice to your spellcasting. Alright. He's in a block of 6 Blooded with a Standard Bearer champion, so he's going to be casting some spells. He's going to be running around with his Blooded, giving them death, getting their Clash up, and I believe giving them Flawless Strikes or Relentless Blows. No, it's Flawless Strikes. The one with the exploding 1, so they do 2 damages on 1s. Besides that, overall not a bad Wadrhun list. This is kind of what my opponent has. He's slowly building up his collection and everything, so as he plays more and collects more, his lists are going to evolve, and it's really just, you know, getting games in, learning the game, understanding where stuff is, making different choices, trying different things out. And that's fine and dandy. So, I'm going to slow those rules, we'll get in the scenario, we'll get in the table, and then we'll get in the game. Pause the video at any time. Sweet, tons of rules out of Wadrhun. Let's go to the game. Alright, here is our scenario for the day. We got playing head-to-head, so my opponent has their zone, I have mine. And there's the neutral objective. And once again, how this game kind of develops, especially in the scenario, like, so you score 3 for the neutral and you score 4 for your opponent, is that both players tend to just make a play for the middle one. And depending on terrain, so I'll just give you a little hint, there's a piece of center terrain right here. Depending on terrain, you're going to commit so much of your forces to this neutral objective, and what's going to tend to happen is it's going to stall out, or you're going to push and you're going to realize you're going to win it, and or your opponent is going to realize that they're going to lose it, and they're going to make a play for your zone. And around turn 2 or 3, you should have, we'll say in orange, just a regiment sitting on the edge of the zone just to keep your opponent out, so that if they do make a play for it, it's defended. But you don't want to commit a ton there, because let's say, you know, a lot's going on over in the neutral zone. And if for some reason you're starting to lose the neutral zone, you then make a play into their zone and push off whatever regiment they have defending and take it over for those points. It's blue. We will use this purple to represent them. So that's what tends to happen. The play for either side's zone might happen quicker, depending on like how much space is. So if you just fill up your entire area here with stuff, and your opponent does the same, and these guys are all battling it out, then let's say you got 4 or 3 more regiments to deploy, but you really don't have any space on the right side of the table, you'll just start dropping them on the left side of the table, and then, you know, make a play for your opponent and start really pushing. That tends to happen. That's really the scenario. It's also kill points, so killing your opponent's regiments, characters, warlords, all good stuff you want to do to score those points. Alright, let's get into the table. Here's the table. I'll just circle the stuff. So we got my zone, we got my opponent's zone over there, and then we got the neutral zone. We got, get rid of the neutral zone. We know that's the neutral zone. We got 2 waters. Not bad placement for either of them. They do come up when we fight over this neutral zone. So we're kind of hoping to try and get out of it and not have our clash reduced, but, you know, do as much as you can. All the forests, so we got 4 forests, are hindering and obscuring. And they're placed in a way so that, like, the shooting isn't going to be as deadly. Ho ho ho. He's even on a snow map. It's Santa. So yeah, there's like these 2 forests on the right are actually in a decent spot, because you can get large base here, touching the woods to reduce shots and also be in the zone. This one over here, you can do the same thing and also, you know, might tow it or just have a regiment in here so that they're safe from counter shooting. And then same for the 2 little ones to reduce shots into you. And then we got the 2 obstructions going on over here. The one in the middle kind of splits the table in half, so once you commit your regiment to each side, it's going to be very difficult from getting one to the other. And then the second obstruction on the left kind of makes it so that there's this one funnel flank for myself and my opponent if we want to go for it and get around. So it's going to be kind of tough to bear a lot of force onto those friendly objectives and take them over, just because that building kind of cuts that off, but still gives a path to get regiments through. So there's going to be some long plays and long or far distances that people are going to have to cover to get the stuff. All right, let's go into turn 1. Here's turn 1. I get my Ballistes onto the table and my Tempered Steel Shaper. Steel Shaper goes second, casts a spell, gets a token. Ballistes are in this position because I want to start threat projecting and putting work towards this zone and the bigger side. I have other things that I want to deploy, like the Hellbringer Drakes, to get into that zone and score it, and the Ballistes there are just kind of running up to start putting the work on there and the pressure to help out as the game goes on. I'm not worried about the left zone yet, because there's no reason to worry about that thing just yet. I wouldn't really put defensive regiment or regiment to score my opponent's zone until turn 2 or 3. My opponent, however, gets his Predator and Slingers, and another unit of Slingers, and some Hunting Pack. So these guys back here are Hunting Pack. He hasn't glued them on yet, but that's fine. He's made a good choice with his 1-unit slingers, just kind of running up, getting in the woods. Going to threat project as well on this side. So we're already going to start the range battle. Hunting pack hiding behind them, not too bad. I don't know. He probably could have like shot them up maybe on this side to start going for that flank, but not far enough forward that he would have got blasted by anything kind of thing. Like just stay out of 23 from the Bliss days. He could have also moved this unit of slingers over here and just had like a ton of firepower coming for the neutral objective, because right now those slingers can't score this zone at all. And you know what, I'll just do it. Like they can't score this even if they win the fight. So I would kind of put them on the neutral zone to just win that fight, because you know that's for sure going to happen, and then put some other stuff that for sure can go scoring over it. My opponent only has blooded veterans, Thunder Riders that can score. So he's got to be really aware of those regiments and where they're going and how he's going to use them. So, besides that, it's turn 1. Let's go to turn 2. Here's turn 2. Good things for me happen. Get both my Hellbringer Drakes with Wizards and get a unit of Fireforge, so I'm really happy with that. My opponent gets a ton of cards. He's got his Scion with the Blooded. He's got another unit of Chieftain and Vets and the Raptor Riders. So as this first comes out, my opponent kind of runs up and puts himself just in the woods here. I kind of just run up my Hellbringer Drakes. Like this Hellbringer Drake on the right is already looking to get into that zone and score it, but he counter-deployed that unit of Blooded across from me, so I'm a little wary of getting kind of like charged by them in a couple turns. I don't know if I want to be that far forward and aggressive with them. My opponent runs up the Slingers and realizes he won't be in range because he doesn't have the triple activation, because he doesn't have what is it? Tier 3 Conquest, because he doesn't have Fanatic. So he just puts himself out of my range. I, on the other hand, just kind of like march up some more. I think I march and take a shot at him and like do 4 wounds. So yay. These guys just shoot at them, but they're in the woods, so they reduce that. Hunting pack just kind of shift over. Not the greatest of moves. They could have sat behind the Slinger some more. My opponent's trying to do the thing where they march, shoot, and then like march back, but he's kind of getting himself trapped on his own hunting pack. But he's also just safe in the woods and reduces shots, so it's going to take a while for me to kill off all the Slingers. The Slingers over here also walk up. They're getting in range of threat and stuff. I'm just putting Fireforge across because I need to just lock down that zone. Because I see him putting his Chieftain and his Veterans over here, and I'm like, well, I need to defend that zone. Put a unit of Fireforge there. I'm planning to get them just right here in the woods and in the zone, or just over the zone, so that he can't get in and score it, and I can sit in the woods and just shoot back, and we can trade with shots. This Hellbringer Drake right here, I'm kind of trying to threat project this way and this way. I don't know if it was super good. Like, the Hellbringer Drakes want to just kind of sit there and shoot, and I'm really using it to kind of split shots right now, depending on what side is getting affected by stuff. So, it's not the greatest because he isn't really committing to anything, but, like, I could have put him over here more and just had him sit behind the ballistas and shoot in, but I kind of really wanted to run that 14 forward, and I knew I wasn't going to cover it. There is just a bunch of, like, long shooting units are kind of tough, and then also trying to put faster stuff on top of them. Like, real estate on the front line is a premium, and so you really got to pick what needs to be there. I don't think this is a bad move where that Hellbringer Drake is, the one I'm just going to circle in orange for you. I just think it could have been a bit better, but it does kind of work out for me in the end, because he can split his shots between the right and left side as stuff comes into me, and then, just support where's needed. While the right side Drake is for sure going for that zone, for sure supporting that right side. And so it's not too bad. I don't know, I just feel like I could have put him in a better spot. So then my opponent just runs up his Raptor Riders on this flank, so he's really looking to get around, get into me, shut down my shooting, get into the side, break up that Dweghom Castle, and I'm like, well, I can see this coming. So I gotta prepare for that and be aware of it. I got both my Drakes on, so it's now just gonna be like more Fireforge, more Steelforge, so Next turn I'll have something to deal with it when I'm A-okay with. But my opponent's starting to make his plays, and we're going to see how guns go against woods. Let's go to turn 3. Alright, so here's turn 3. First things first, I believe I win the roll-off, and I just take aim and shoot with my hold ballistas into the slingers. I kill off 2 stands. The slingers, in response, shoot back. They do all their march shenanigans, like they march, move over, and then they trigger fire in advance and shoot at me, and I lose a stand and have some wounds. He got some really good rolls. And then he moves back to his current position. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to kill those slingers next turn. That's fine with me. They got 1 stand left. I can do this. I get a unit of Fireforge and Steelforge as my reinforcement, so I got 2 more sitting in the back, so I'll talk about those when they come up relevant. While my opponent gets the rest of his list, what is literally just the Thunder Riders. Then the next thing starts happening. We get into the next round of shooting, so Slingers go. They're within 18. I'll use blue again. Bet on me. Blue. They shoot into my Fireforge, who are further back. So they ignore the majority of the forest, shooting that 1 stand that's not what was back here more. And out of line of sight of the forest, does 4 wounds. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I walk my Fireforge up. I shoot into the Slingers. Do a bunch more damage. Sweet. Kill off a stand. Really liking it. Then as things develop, I bring my Hellbringer Drake up, take some shots into the Blooded who've run up. He's just gonna look to get 3 stands in, so he's gonna be scoring that zone. Good on him. With the Blooded, he casts the Decay spell on the zone. We didn't exactly know how that worked. That's what that token is there in the middle of that green circle. We find out how it does work. So what we thought how it worked is that when you target the zone, until it around anything that on, it's going to get Decay 2. But as we found out, when you cast it, anything that's on the zone receives Decay 2, and that's it. So it's like a once instance. It doesn't make like a bubble of decay terrain until the end of the turn or round. Anything that was touching that zone at the time of the casting is affected by Decay 2 until end of turn. So not that great, to be honest, because like you could have something run up and then take Decay 2 and then take a bunch of damage and use it preemptively. While with this, you have to have stuff on the zone and then it gets hit by it. And it has to have not activated yet, what also kind of sucks, because the way to get around Decay is to just have activated already. So, not that great there. Steelforge running up here. Their whole job is that they're going to hop these Ballistae next turn and get to the zone so I can actually fight this battle. My opponent counters, and this is actually a really good play. He Fluid Reforms and then runs a bunch of Hunting Pack right here. And I'm like, whoa, that's not good, because he can't charge me. He was out of range, but he can double march and just get up into my face and kind of lock me down. So I'm like, alright, well, what do I got? So, first Hellbringer Drake shot, but the wizard hasn't gone. Second Hellbringer Drake hasn't shot, but the wizard hasn't gone. So, Hellbringer Drake on the left goes, marches up and rotates so that I'm within 14 inches of these guys right here. And I'm within, 14 of the Hunting Pack. I shoot the Hunting Pack. I kill off a stand in a little bit. Sweet. I then draw my wizard card. This wizard goes, drops a fireball into the Hunting Pack, kills them off. I'm like, sweet. Does he kill them off? I think he does some damage. I think this wizard also drops his fireball into that one. So basically, I just put a Drake and maybe 2 wizards into there and kill off the Hunting Pack. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it went. So Hunting Pack are dead, but I need to get rid of them because I did not need the Ballistae engaged so that the Steelforge could jump the Ballistae and get into the zone, because I don't want to be locked out of the zone right now. I want to get the Steelforge in there. There's the other plan of putting Steelforge on this side and then kind of running in, and that's probably the better play, to be honest. I just kind of wanted to have them going up the middle, so for future I'll probably have them on the right side to get into the zone and just march in. This is the straight distance where they currently are. We'll just get more stands on to lock it down. However, there was a play there that my opponent could have made if the Hunting Pack survived and then next turn locked down the Ballistae. That would have been really bad. So yeah, it's gotta stop doing that. Don't step on your own toes. Other things that go on. Raptor Riders. They just march charge into the Fire Forge. They walked up onto the table. Like, I knew the Raptor Riders are coming. I just walk onto the table to hold off that side. I thought about putting these guys over on the right, but I was like, nah, we'll just use Fire Forge to block it off. I have another unit of Fire Forge. Who cares? I can also drop Steel Forge over there. And then my opponent, you know, runs up Thunder Riders, runs up Chieftain and Vet. So things are happening, but I'm kind of winning the shooting off. His Slingers are getting picked off. I still got plenty of guns. And then we're going to transition to the melee side of this, and really I need to hold off his melee stuff and just let my guns get to work. However, my opponent scores 3 points, and I don't score anything. Let's go to turn 4. So here's turn 4. I get my Steel Forge and my Fire Forge onto the table. I forget who wins the roll-off, but I know for sure I made the play to get my Steel Forge. I'm just going to circle in green onto the zone. Then I have my opponent. I think he starts with his shooting, and he just puts some shots into the Steel Forge. And then I'm like, okay, I start countering with... What do I counter with? I think I shoot the Hellbringer Drake goes next and shoots the Blooded Regiment. And then the Blooded and Scion eventually go. They get charged into here. Kill off a stand, and then, you know, they get fireballed. The Hold Ballista Regiment shoots into the Slingers, but they can't really see them well. Only up to the Steel Shaper can see the Slingers. They just take aim and shoot with their reduced shots. I'm hoping to deal enough wounds, but I think they take 3 and they're still alive. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Eventually my Fire Wizard fireballs the Blooded and they just die. So I'm like, okay, cool. His Thunder Riders walk up the table more. To counteract that, I just, run my Steel Forge up here to get in the way. So, like, they're going to hit one Steel Forge, or if they try to long bomb into the Hellbringer Drake, I'll have another unit of Steel Forge so I can clear them off. So, good stuff going on there. But at this point, I've locked down the zone and I'm going to score it. Sweet. On the left side, I believe these Fire Forge, I don't think they do a super great job, but they try and get to the Slingers. They kill off a stand. Then my other Hellbringer in the middle, I believe he has 16-inch range to get to this Blooded, and they need the extra shots, and I'm just like, whatever, I'll just confirm the kill over there and start scoring. At that point, my opponent runs up his, Vets. I'm like, okay, well, they're my next problem. But I'm like, you know what, we'll drop a Fireball into those Slingers, but they live, they're like got a couple health left, so not doing too bad over there, but also I'm going to have to deal with Vet soon. My right side Fire Forge, or left side Fire Forge. What does those Slingers do? I think those Slingers actually go and just shoot the Drake. I think there's actually tokens right underneath his tail for how much health he took. So I'm not too worried about that, but I'm also just like, let's just get rid of his shooting. We'll get stuff into melee, and then I'll just be in a very strong position. He can't see the Fire Forge with the Slingers because of the Vet, so I'm like, yeah, whatever. My Fire Forge, walk into the table there 5 inches, shoot into the side of the Raptors, kill one. Raptors, melee, Fire Forge, melee back Raptors, so there's a battle going on right here. And that's kind of it. Like, turn 4, I scored 3 points, took out a big block of Blooded and a Scion. Both units of Slingers are kind of on their last legs, hoping to kill them off. My opponent's got Veterans and Thunder Riders, what I'm a little worried about, but I got so much forces around that I'm just like, okay, I might lose a thing or two, but I'm just going to clean them up. It's going to be a-okay. Let's go to turn 5. Here's turn 5. So, things that go on. My opponent activates his Slingers. Shoots in the side of my Steel Forge. I have my Ballista go. Yep, can do it. Yep, I have my Ballista go. They shoot back into the Slingers, killing them off. Sweet. My opponent has his Thunder Riders go. Charge into the Steel Forge. Steel Forge die. Just kill them. I'm like, sweet. So that's fine. Next, I have my Drake go. I think I might have had a Wizard go at this point. and I just drop a fireball into the slingers. I'm like, okay, cool. Then then he has his veterans go, and as you can see, they charged my Fireforge, killed them all off. Oh, you know what? The Drake went and shot one of the veterans. So Drake shoots veterans right here, and then he charged into my Fireforge, killed them, and then I shot a fireball and killed his slingers way back there. So I'm like, yep, they're dead. Cool. So next thing, I have my Fireforge at the bottom there shoot into the Raptor Riders. And they're down to one stand, and then the Raptor Riders and the Fireforge fight each other. I still have one stand on the zone, while my opponent has one stand on the zone, so it's contested. So I'm super happy about that. Then I just have my March Charge from the Steel Forge into the side of the Thunder Riders. Oh, before the Thunder Riders March charged and killed my one unit Steel Forge, the Hellbringer Drake. This is what this guy was doing. He like shot them to kill off a stand, and then I fireballed them later on. So now they're down to 3 stands. I think there's a couple wounds. Yeah, you can kind of see it if you really look. I'll do it in pink. There's some wounds on that guy. So that's what that Hellbringer Drake was doing, just shooting Thunder Riders. So at this point, we are both contested. No one scores. His Thunder Riders are just going to get wailed on by Steel Forge, Ballista, and Hellbringer Drake. His veterans are kind of in a bad spot because if he comes off the zone, he's not really going to score it, but right now he's contesting it, so he's got to clear off various Fireforge. But that Drake in the middle there is just going to start turning around so that he can see everybody and start popping shots and hucking fireballs. So let's go to turn 6. Here's turn 6. My opponent, he's just been winning roll-offs, but it's fine. Veterans charge into Fireforge, but because of the hindering terrain, doesn't get a ton of attacks, only gets like a stand or 2 in. Reduces the Fireforge down to like 2 wounds left. Hellbringer Drake rotates, shoots a bunch of shots, kills a bunch of them. Then we have his Thunder Riders go. They reform, attack the Steel Forge. Steel Forge go, fight back, kill off all the Thunder Riders. They just got 13 cleave ones and just rip through them. Hellbringer Drake, Ballistas, they just don't even bother going. And then the Fireforge shoot into the veterans, killing off all the veterans. And my opponent calls it. I think we rolled off the Raptor Rider and the Fireforge, but my opponent can't score anymore. I got plenty of scoring, and that's really it for the game. So let's go check out the end score. So we ended on turn click and 6. My opponent got 7 points, and I got 26 after we added up all the cards. My opponent got, I believe he scored the one zone once and then killed 2 things for another 4 points. I basically got his Warlord and everything else, so let's go. That's fine there. Overall, like, talking to my opponent about this after, it was really, he didn't have a ton of things to score with. He kind of fed me a regiment a turn. I think he used his hunting pack well, because if like I had to clear it off, I had to put shots in towards it. I had to get rid of it to stay relevant. But we talked about it on where he kind of spread himself out too much, and he needed to kind of just put enough on the friendly side objectives to keep me away and not like have it battled out and fight and kind of turn into what it did, where he was making a play on that side, but he hadn't kind of committed a play to the neutral objective yet. And he just kind of sent in one thing at a time to just get lit up, and he should have just put a concentration of force on one side and then moved through all together. So we were talking about it where he has the Raptor Riders in front of the Thunder Riders. Raptor Riders and Thunder Riders run up together. Raptor Riders get shot and killed. Then Thunder Riders can charge into the Hellbringer Drake and deal a bunch of damage, or start doing that stuff. Like, there's play and counterplay, but my opponent really needed to layer his army a bit better and to get that punch of that force in. Like, he spread his regiments too far out, trying to take over all the board space, but he didn't really have a ton of regiments. Like, he has 4 lights, 2 mediums, and a heavy. So it's 7 regiments versus my 1 light, 7 mediums. So I have 8 regiments, and then I have like 3 characters who are all doing stuff. So there was a lot more stuff on my side of the table doing work than he had, and he really needed to just commit like a punch force. So we were talking about it where it was like, hey, maybe jump both your slingers on one side and really pelt. Maybe drop the chieftain and the veterans on the other side in the woods just to keep me off. And then have the blooded, have the raptors, have the thunder riders. Get all your forces together and then have that run at me all at the same time. Because I explained to him, against a shooting list, you really want to put too many threats and too many things to shoot in front of the shooting list, because the shooting list usually just kind of kills one thing a turn most of the time. And I'll like put a ton of work into the blooded, let's say, and I'll kill them off. Oh no, you lost the blooded, but then you're getting raptor riders, you're getting thunder riders into me, and you can actually start doing that work and doing that damage. And that was kind of like the big takeaway from this one. Besides that, it was a good game. My opponent and I had a good time. We learned some stuff about weird Wadrhun things, like how spells and chanting and all this other weird stuff that works on them that kind of rarely comes up. So it was good to figure that stuff out. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this battle report. I hope people like and subscribe. I hope people join the BonkTable Discord. I hope people listen to the podcast. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.